What's up, students? It's Devlin Cassidy, aka The Scholar, coming back at you guys today with a premium deck profile, this time for No Life King. I promised I'd bring this to you guys of what potentially I was taking either this BCS season or maybe potentially in the future, but I feel that even though this deck is huge copium right now, it's still one of my favorite decks to play in the premium format, minus Great Nature, because No Life King is just one of my favorite cards. So before we get into the video, thank you for Kingslayer Cards for sponsoring today's video. You can go get your deck blinged out like I have mine by using the code SCHOLAR to save 5% off any pre-orders. You can go on there. They have a singles list out there for well as on TCG Player. But please check out their event that is going to be happening at the end of February, February 25th and 26th. The first day will be a standard event, and the second day will be a premium event with no overtrigger. Should be an absolute banger, and I'm hopefully to see a bunch of people there to make it a record attendance. And then there's also another event. My team sponsor, Team's Crow's Nest, will be hosting an event on March 18th. It will be an overdressed event where I believe the grand prize is a Switch for whoever comes in first place, but plenty of promotional packs and stuff like that. And thank you, Crow, for holding that event. That will be down in Georgia, and the little slide show I had prior gives all the information there. So thank you all so much for putting on absolute bangers of events. But without further ado, let's get right on into it. So we start with a V starter. I think right now, especially with like Highlander and a lot of high advantage decks going first, you're kind of forced to play the V starter over just having your basic assassin starter. The reason I really particularly feel this way is because you just have to plus early, so that way you have targets to just be able to put cards in soul and stuff, because it's really honestly a -2 if you have the assassin, because the assassin isn't doing anything until a lot later in the game. This is an instant plus and it's a card in soul, rather than just assassin being a card in soul. So this is why I think this is really crucial to play. And then we also, speaking of assassin, we have our assassin here. She is the combo enabler. Once you get her in a soul, you can start doing the loops with No Life King, and so she's absolutely phenomenal. There's definitely a reason why she needs to stay at 1, but she's definitely a mainstay so for the deck. Still want to be able to do that NLK loop combo. Then on to our grade 3s. We are playing 4 copies of No Life King Death Anchor. So he, of course, DI, Protect Gift, and when he's placed, you can soul charge 1, and he gets 2k for every card in your soul on that on place, so he becomes really beefy really instantly. And then if there's 13 or more cards in your soul at the end, if he attacks, he can counterblast 1, suck 3 rear guards into soul, and a card from your hand into soul, and you choose a card from your soul and rewrite it. So there's weird situations sometimes where No Life King you want to like ride down, and if you hit a particular grade 2, then that's like the play you want to do. So definitely, like this is definitely just like very versatile, and how the gameplay you want it to have, where you can do like half a loop, ride down, deny your opponent's stride if you have a second one in hand. A bunch of lines of play, but this is what makes the card pretty interesting. But definitely one of my favorite cards for DI. This card's just super cool, and the loop is still just one of the more interesting things I've played in the premium format thus far. And then since we lost years ago the assassin to 4, so we just couldn't keep spamming NLK, we had to go a different route. So when Overdress introduced Barrel Magnus, which we played 2 copies of, it gave us another dimension of the deck where our final attacker could actually extend to more attackers, which was really interesting and we really liked. So this gives itself a crit and pressure, so off an NLK it's actually 23-3 crit, which guarantees a lot of pressure. It draws you a card, and then since of course you're doing the loops, you'll have 15 in soul to call out to, and while sucking in your opponent's board to soul, which is just absolutely huge. This card is phenomenal. I really like it. And there's like funny things too, where like you have the one in hand after you like did the whole loop, you can like persona ride into a Blader Mouse, which makes like the Blader Mouse way more threatening. So tons of lines of play, a lot of different things you can do. So this card is definitely worth it. And then for the most oppressive guard restrict in the game, we're playing actually 1 Hope on Dump, and I'll explain this later once we get down to like our grade 1s and stuff, of why you really never hit the 20 until you either live long enough to do a second loop turn, because it's very rare that you just have the 20 straight up in soul. So I just much rather call this off like the end extensions, for them having like if they did hit a trigger during the whole loop combo, where you're just forcing them to overguard with this, which there's another card that will force them to overguard, but just hope is better in some matchups, and then our other version of guard restrict is better in other matchups. Then I have on to the grade 2s. We are playing 4 copies of Poisionic Abductor. We really like this preferred more in premium right now, just because it can just go and pinpoint search assassin and shove it to soul, which is huge. But it can also set up a lot of other combo pieces. If you have like a copy of a card in soul and you need like 2 more copies of it, you can go search it and then call 1 to rear, which is perfectly fine if you like call like dimension creepers or stuff like that to the rear guard, because of the grade 2 that's coming up next. But this is just versatile of being able to grab 3, shove to 2 to soul, and then call the remaining, so call the 1. It's just really fulfilling, and so we really like this card just kind of more versatility over Emblem Master. The other thing too is like how I have my list is that there's like Emblem Master bait, where like if you set up, you ride a card and you call a card, they know you have like the Emblem Master in hand, so there's like a way that will actually deny you, which you can like not telegraph as much information, just have this to where they have to damage deny you in hopes that you don't ride this, and so it punishes you if you do. But that's why I kind of like this over Emblem Master right now. Then to the biggest card this deck got. So this is Covetous Succubus. I wish we got the new art, but you know, Bushi shafted us again. It's all good. But this card's really interesting. So this is a promo that if you have 6 or more cards in soul, it gets plus 5,000 shield, and if there's 10 or more, it gets plus 10. So it's actually 15,000 shield, which is huge because of like just having more guard value in the deck, because a lot of it's like glass cannon, like 5k stuff. So this is just huge that this just gets so big. But this really important skill is when it attacks, you can shove a rear guard to soul and countercharge 1 if you have 6 or more cards in soul. And if you have 10, you can draw 2 and choose a card from your hand and shove it to soul. So again, you can actually fix for another card, or you can fix like cards you want in your soul, stuff like that. But this is just huge because this enables you to actually, on a ride-up turn, if you think you can push for a game, do 3 NLK swings off 1 CB, which is absolutely huge if you got the 13 soul. It's absolutely crazy. Like this card fixed so much where you're just able to go, okay, cool, swing assassin, swing no life king, assassin, come out off the 1 CB. You swing this in the next column, you shove the assassin that just called out at the start of the attack step to soul after you swung with it. You'll countercharge, and so then you can do like another no life king. It's just crazy. So this card provides so much versatility. It lets you build a hand. It lets you selectively put cards to soul to maybe fulfill a condition that we'll talk about later. But this card, absolutely perfect, and I think just so necessary for DI moving forward. Then I got 1 Rhodia. So this card is really good. I really like Rhodia a lot. She provides a lot of different layers just because she's our best ride down target if that's our avenue. So that's why like I wish I could play 2 of her, but space is a little bit tight. So I wish that we could just, you know, maybe have 1 more just so that way like our ride down play, if that is an option, is more consistent, just because of riding back down and this being like somewhere around like a 23k 23k 25k body, 24k, like somewhere around there, just so that way you're just able to sit and not be damaged, as much. The fact you just have like a free defensive on your opponent's turn just because of the amount of cards in your soul off Rhodia is just really strong and really important and kind of underrated. And then for our last card for DI, I'm playing Variance Hardleg, which is going to make a lot more sense once I get down to the grade 1s, and you're going to see like, oh, okay, this is why he plays Hardleg. I feel though it's a lot easier to set up 3 specific cards with 15 cards in soul than you being able to set up 20 cards in soul for the hope. And so I feel 3 or more cards from hand on like a ride-up turn is a lot more disgusting than you trying to aim for hope just to guarantee a kill. And then also the funny cheese you can do is like if you have both like this and hope and soul, you can call this out during like a barrow turn and then like extend into the stride, or you can call like the 1 out if you have the other in hand. So just go, okay, yeah, this is 3 to guard the whole entire turn, and then after barrow, like only intervals of 20 with 3 cards. So you can create some very disgusting lines like that. So that's why I think this card is very important, just for another line of guard restrict. But I can perfectly see why you would want to cut this for another hope, or maybe cut the hope for another one of this, your preference, but I'm finding fine with both right now. Then on to the grade 1s. I think this is the most important grade 1 they've actually printed for DI. This is like in itself a consistency buff. So playing 4 copies of Emon's Follower Fuginlin. This card lets you take a card from your hand, shove it to soul, draw a card, and then it forces your opponent to do the same, which is huge because even though it lets your opponent draw, which I'm not the hugest fan of, I hate my opponent's plussing. by just taking like dead shield value, potentially like hitting a heal or something to disrupt the combo. It is cool that like at the start of your battle phase you can soul charge one and give something 5k, so like actually that's really huge, just in the sense that you're able to make your numbers a little bit better and you're able to get more cards to soul. So like sometimes you like start your battle phase with like 12, right, and you've been like doing like a small G2 game, or like you've been able like to see like 3 of these, and so you just force your opponent like the 6 cards in soul. You're just able to just soul charge, hit the 13 and go off. So that's why Fu is really great, but it can also help you dig for like your grade 3s, because like I'm still having trouble finding room for a Succubus of Pure Love, even though I don't want to play it because it's not a soul charge piece. I just still think that's why Fu Yinlin is definitely the wave. And then 4 copies, I think, of the most arguably controversial card in my deck, but it's going to make sense once we get to this next card. So this is 4 copies of Dimension Creeper. Yes, Ketzer is better. That's like universally known. You can just guard with Ketzer, it goes to soul. Your following turn, you use soul charge 2 after binding it. My issue is that like in Narukami matchups where you have a rougher time playing the game as is because of their interactive G guards, you can accidentally, if you have to like turbo, set up Bulwark for them so they're not like forced to go into like a really bad stun verse to do it. So like that's why this card I feel is a little better, is because it's going to drop, so they're forced to put it in the bind zone for them to check for stun verse, versus you just setting up the Bulwark for them by blasting Ketzer and the pony. And this card is recyclable because we're playing Killer Tail in the deck, so like this card I just feel is like way better. You're able to abuse it more, like you're able to like go like, oh, Poisionic, I find like 3, I shove it to soul, I soul blast. Like if I already have like the Killer Tail, I can just like soul blast all these, soul charge 6, put another back to soul, soul charge 2 more. That's like 8 in a turn. It's like really disgusting and explosive, and I freed myself the CC. So like that's why Creeper's in the deck over Ketzer and Pony right now, is just because like the Narukami wariness is just like, you don't want to accidentally set up like plays for your opponents, even though it's just one matchup. I still feel you're like at a disadvantage enough in that matchup to warrant playing this. And then we have 4 copies of Variance Killer Tail. For those that don't know what she does, she rests herself, and you can choose a card from your damage zone and your drop zone, put it to soul, and then if you put a card from your damage zone, you'll put the top card of your deck face down in your damage zone. But if you have 3 copies of Variance Killer Tail in your soul, you can restand her and countercharge 1. So she's during like our main phase countercharging. What you're going to find is like we have multiple ways of battle phase countercharging, but sometimes we want ways of main phase countercharging because our opponent can just like straight up deny us just to slow down our tempo, and then we're like, dang bro, like I have to wait to figure out a way to be able to countercharge during my battle phase. And if they sniped all of our succubuses, it's actually even harder, because then we just need cards' ability to play the game. So this is why we have the Killer Tail, just to be able to recycle D-Creeper, put pieces we want from damage to soul, and just be able to fix all around. So I think that's why Killer Tail is still good this format. You're just being able to free yourself for playing the list like so. Then for our final grade 1, we're playing 3 Edge in the Darkness. This is a really good ride target because it's able to get your like soul charging combo pieces early, where you're just able to, like, to shove a D-Creeper to soul, so you're actually like plussing more soul and you're drawing cards. But the big reason we play this is just because like you're able to call this during the battle phase. So like if you only have like 2 CB up and you don't have like any way to countercharge, you can go like you can go No Life King into Barrow, and then when Barrow swings, you can call this out to give you a counter charge and a soul charge to be able to do the 4-Fox stride, which I think is huge and definitely warrants playing Edge in the Darkness, because like the 4-Fox finishing part of this deck is just absolutely insane. And then for the triggers, we're playing 4 Crit Sentinels. Just crits win games, and since you're generating enough protect markers, I don't think you really need to play the grade 0 PGs. That's just my feeling, is just doing this is just way better. Then we have 4 Stride Crit. Consistency to just stride if it comes up is better, so we just much rather have this in the deck. And then we're playing 3 copies of the Dark States Crit. This is just non-GB restricted to shove to soul, so again, like you can do a half a loop if like a ride down needs, so because this card can like shove to soul and become your 13th and then just go. So like this is why this card's huge. I really like the fact that it just goes to soul without the GB restriction, even though the draw card's nice from the Liquid Fencer. It's just this being no GB is huge. And then 4 Heal Guardian, like this card's lights out. It's so good. Just being able to live. Just because if like the problem with DI is that like if you aggro it too hard, it just straight up loses because you're forcing it to guard with combo pieces. So being able to be like, okay, give myself a defensive, hope I check a defensive, and my opponent's turn is over, just way too good not to play. So that's why we play the Heal Guardians. My camera ran out of storage. I don't know why, but yeah, here we go. So Dark State's OT, you just have to play this because it's like 10k in a crit, and you're swinging your Vanguard 4 times, so it's just like too good of advantage like not to play. So just play this OT, please. And then for the G-Zone 2/4 Fox, this is the main card you're going to be striding, just because you're not having to pay the stride cost. You just do your combo, you counterblast 1, and you discard 5 cards, and you just stride it. So this is at the end of your Barrow turn is when this happens. Your Barrow play inside the combo, just because then that way you're able to maybe return some crits in your deck. If your deck is below 13 cards, you can just return 3. And yeah, this card's just like absolutely broken, and it's so good. I really like this card a lot. This card is really cool, and I'm really glad it like DI got this because I think this was the next clan that needed like a Marduk-esque card. 2 Blader Mouse, just because like we have to return cards to deck sometimes, so like this is the way we do it. Just can return all triggers and zeros. 2 Jill, like this never comes up, but your opponent like hard damage denies you and you need to do a play. Like that's what Jill is for. Garvans, this is like in the instance where you just like don't hit it, like you only have like 8 cards in soul. This is like CB1 soul charge 5, and like you get some pluses potentially, so yeah. A CB-less way to return cards to the deck, this is Freiheit. Soul charge 2, you can choose 4, 1 each being a different grade, so you can return like a grade 0 and a heal, so that's how you get like multiple triggers back to deck, but that's how Freiheit does it. 1 Seeped in Sin Shahara. This is just to be able to board control. Like this is huge. Just being able to blow up your opponent's board. It all goes to soul. And then saying no sentinels. This can just be lethal sometimes. So this card's really good. So peep the boy. And then 1 Formido. Again, I just feel like board retire because like in the matchups where this is like iffy, you're just able to soul charge 5, blow up your opponent's board, draw a card. Like, and then have free stride after. It's just kind of too good not to play. So that's why we play the Formido, but you can obviously put whatever you want in the slot here. I just have the Formido, so you can play whatever you want in the slot, but I like Formido here. Then we have 2 of this G-Guard. It's Rebellious Storm Princess Nijabis. I don't know how to pronounce that. Vanguard cards are weird, but this card is like one of our best G-Guards. The fact that you're able to nullify multiple attacks for every 10 cards in your soul, you're just like, okay, -1 crit on that unit, -1 crit on that unit, and like I guard an attack. So like if their Vanguard's already swung, you can just go like, oh yeah, I swung this 24, so I go 27, neg crit on these last 2 remaining attacks, GG. Like this card's like just so good. I really love it. 1 Dismal, this is really just to protect your succubuses, just because that's like how important the card is. This would probably be a second Saint Germain just to like be able to live like DP matchups and stuff like that, but this card's just like way too good. 1 Bahat Malat, just to like, you know, soul charge. Kind of like a deep, the Deep Corpse Dragon for Grand Blues, kind of like a oh crap button, just to be able to freely soul charge. Vincent, if we need a big G-Guard, this gets us plus 5k for every 5 in your soul after you soul charge 1 and flip. And then we already talked about him, Saint Germain. 25k shield, so like our plot maker, and then like if you have 15 or more in soul, you can just give like your board resist. So that way if they have like retire pieces like during the battle phase, you can just protect your pieces. So yeah, that's why Saint Germain is a good card. And then, you know, we just go protect 1 because like it's free. But there's like random instances sometimes where you can go protect 2, but like you just never do. So that's why we are here. But that is going to do it for today's profile, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all so much for watching. Please check out Kingslayer cards. Their link is in the description down below. Use the code SCHOLAR again to save 5% off. They are wonderful people, amazing people, and check out the events that are coming down to the southern area soon. I hopefully may be able to make one of them, but we'll try to see. But if not, go support them. Fantastic people. And like, subscribe, do all that awesome stuff. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, a wonderful rest of your week, and until next time, folks, take care.